I'm thinking every day to try and find like a band name for my imaginary band that's going to play this one day, but like,
yes,
at the moment it's just me, so just me, I guess. James Mulvale.
Today's episode is James Mulvale.
Hi.
How's it going, James?
Not too bad. Getting used to everything. Everything's locked down, but it's not much different.
Yeah, during like the quarantine and stuff.
Yeah, I think a lot of composers will feel a similar sense of, well, not much has changed except we can't go out, which we didn't really do that much anyway.
So you have sort of just erupted onto the microtonal scene. Is that correct? Have you been in it very long, or?
Microtonal, no. Since, I'd say November. I can pinpoint it. Like, I can actually pinpoint the day that I got interested in it, because up until I'm 40 years old. So for 40 years I've been studying music and working as a professional composer, and then all of a sudden this Adam Neely video pops into my YouTube subscription feed about making microtonal lo-fi hip-hop, and I'd already been working on lo-fi hip-hop beats and using tape effects to sort of make things wobbly, and that video kind of just made me go, hey, you can control the wobble. You can control how out of tune this stuff is by actually just tuning another piano, like 50 cents high or 50 cents sharp. And that, it kind of just, this light bulb went off in my head, and I was like, okay, let's try it out, see if I can do something. And then within a couple of hours, I got like a couple of really cool beats, and I was like, I've never heard anything like this. I've definitely never made anything like this. And then it was like, I'm going to try and find somewhere to put this. And I think a couple of days, I put a song on YouTube, which was just a beat. I think it was called Lucky Numbers, which is now been fleshed out to be a full song. But originally it was just like a minute long lo-fi hip hop beat with some harmony vocals. And Sevish found it, and he said, hey, I love this. And I was like, oh, Sevish has just liked my video. I'm like, because I'd heard of Sevish through Adam Neely, because at the end of the Adam Neely video, he said, if you want to check out more, check out Sevish. I was like, oh yeah, so I checked all that out. I was like,
right,
this is just a whole new world to me. So within a couple of weeks, I was like, well, that's what I'm doing now. I'm gonna find out as much as I can about this type of music, and that's what I've been doing. And it's now April.
Then you've been using quarter tones. What other tuning systems have you gotten into?
So when I first started, doing this thing, I was using Adam Neely's method, which was just tuning a copy of the instrument up 50 cents, and I thought that was that's all it was. It was like, oh, microtonal is quarter tones, which I was familiar with from composition school and stuff, but I never really paid much attention to it, and everything I'd ever heard just sounded just abstract and nasty, and it was all this like stuffy piano, like really serious piano music with all these quarter tones. So I never give it a second thought.
Serious.
Yeah, I'm not a serious person. I write silly jingles for TV. It's like, I'm not serious at all. Like, to me, it was kind of painful to listen to a lot of quarter tone music, and that's all I thought microtonal was. So when I first started doing it, I was like, this is really interesting. I'm trying to find ways of putting this together. And then obviously I joined the Zen Harmonic Alliance and the other microtonal groups, and and people start talking about 19 tone and 22 tone, and then Bohlen-Pierce and all these other crazy things, and blackjack, and I'm like, whoa, what is this? It's like a whole parallel universe. It's crazy.
Yeah.
For the first little bit, it was just 24 EDO, and I didn't have any synths that could do any other equal divisions. I just didn't know how to do it. So this was still back in January this year, and I was still trying to find out how to do it. And then Sevish put me onto the Surge synth.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I got that, it was like, okay, now I can do it. So now, and I've been playing with 22 and 19, and
Yeah.
I did a little bit of Bohlen-Pierce, but I haven't finished anything yet. It's like, it's hard. But yeah, I'm brand new, and I'm just really excited.
It's a really exciting world, isn't it?
It is. I mean, I guess if I'd have learnt this from, I think I've got an interesting perspective, because if I'd have learnt all this when I was studying music in college, my music would have gone in a completely different direction, and maybe I would have been a more serious academic composer rather than just making silly reality TV tunes, and just maybe I would have gone in a different direction. But having years and years of writing 12 tone and getting good at my DAW and getting my production chops up, and then as soon as I've got all this new stuff, it's like I know everything else. Well, no, I don't know. I know enough to get me. I don't know anything. I know nothing. I know enough to make music sound good on my system. So given all that, now I've got all this whole new bunch of tools to use, and colours. It's all about colours for me. Yeah, each scale's got like, I don't know. I always thought of music as colours ever since I was a kid. And I'm not so much in a synesthesia way. I know people get that, but I've always thought of music as colours. Not colours I can see, but like just this, like, I don't know, E flat was always a purple to me. And now I was listening to this microtonal stuff. It's like, oh my God, I'm like in I don't know, just all these extra colours, and it really, really warps my brain. I've only been listening to it for 6 months, so I still get that kind of frisson. I still get the like, oh, that's like that feeling that you get when something just goes. It's almost like I'm drunk or something, or like I'm just having a stroke or something. It's like, what was that? What was that chord? Where did that come from? So I don't know, it's fantastic.
Are you afraid of that feeling? Are you afraid of that feeling wearing off?
A little bit, because I've got used to my own recordings. Like if I go back and listen to things I did, they don't sound weird like they did when I first wrote them. The first time I wrote Headcase, one of the first songs I actually wrote with words, I would listen to it like obsessively, like 3 or 4 times in a row, and go, what is this? Like, how did this come out of me? And it was just really weird. It was nothing I ever heard, and I don't think anybody else. I don't know anybody else who'd heard anything like this, because it's such a small community. So I know, but now I can listen to it. It just sounds like a regular song now. So yeah, it's wearing off, and it's hard to go back to the old way of writing. I just got a little commission to do a video game soundtrack, and I was like, I'm going to do this in 19 and just tell them. And it was like, yeah.
Yes,
they were like, oh,
that
sounds really cool. But I'm not really going to tell them. I don't think they're interested in knowing the ins and outs of it. They just want something that sounds fun.
What an interesting issue. I know that somebody else wrote microtonal music for a video game. That's happened before. Maybe in video game music, you have an environment where people are more accepting of intriguing chord changes in general.
Yeah.
Maybe more so than in film music. But you've had a lot more experience with that than I have, getting paid to do that. So you probably have more interesting and relevant takes on that whole thing. I know that telling people about microtonality tends to scare them if they're not thinking about what it really means.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you're approaching it to a noob, it's probably best not to say anything. You want to geek people out with it, and I know a lot. I know a lot of people do. Like, I'm as guilty as the next person. I write the 7 or 8 tunes that I've written. It's the title, my name, and then in brackets I've got the tuning scale that it is, or whether it's 22 or 19 or 24 or whatever. And I think that's important in the in a small community where it's like everyone wants to know what everyone's doing. But I'm not sure it needs to. I think it could be a bit, I don't know, it could scare people off. What are these numbers attached to your music or whatever? And again, if it sounds cool, it should sound cool.
I mean, there's a real social element to deciding whether you should label your music as microtonal and what that means for people, since they'll form stereotypes about it. I mean, and Elaine and I we've been talking about this for a long time, and we talked about it on the 3rd episode of Now and Zen, as well as another bonus episode, where Elaine is very adamant about labeling her music as microtonal, and I have sort of been that way myself, because I want people to know that if they hear something that sounds different than what they're used to, that can be explained by something that's intentional. But it's really, really hard to convey what's going on just by labeling something in a tuning. So I don't know really what to do about that, because some people are always going to insist that things are out of tune if they're unusual.
Well, it's the same with atonal music. Like something like as mundane as Stravinsky. Everyone's heard Stravinsky at some point, and at the time that was considered just like awful. The first performance was like they had a riot or something, and it was like, just absolutely awful. People wanted their money back. It was like a cacophony, and then the next year it sold out. Everyone just wanted to hear it. So it takes time.
Right.
It takes time to get your head around a new concept. Since I delved into it, I've heard loads of people that I've heard of have started doing it, and like 9 Inch Nails and Sufjan Stevens, and it's like, why didn't I know this already? Well, I knew Aphex Twin had done it, but I thought that was more like just because he had all this prepared piano stuff, which was like, it's always going to sound bonkers.
If you explore like what really incredibly popular artists have done, like the 9 Inch Nails, Sufjan Stevens, Aphex Twin, you have, while Aphex Twin is doing things systematically and adjusting by ear, while I think with 9 Inch Nails and Sufjan, they are making a small adjustment to something that was in 12 but has changed a little bit. So in that way, their methods remind me of people who write using quarter tones. There's this easy way to just tweak something you've already got, and then you have something zenharmonic.
Yeah, those Boards of Canada as well. Just a couple of their notes are wrong. Like it's 12, and then like 1 or 2 are just weird enough to just tickle your ear. And you just like, oh, that's like, yeah, that's their sound, but it's part of their sound. It's not like we're writing microtonal music, or we're doing this, we're doing something. It's just they do it without introduction. It's just like, this is what we sound like, and if you like it, you like it, and if you don't, you don't.
Yeah, I think there's some merit to doing that. Maybe the cons of telling people that your music is microtonal is that like people might form an opinion that you're esoteric or elitist or whatever, based on bad information. Yeah, and it might be true, it might not. Doesn't really have anything to do with it, but it's all about maintaining a certain image in music, right? Like what you want to give to your audience, and you've only got their attention for a certain amount of time, so you've got to get them interested right away.
Yeah, I think the greatest way of getting people's attention is just by writing a killer tune, and everyone going, oh, I've never heard anything like that before. When I heard Elaine's music, I was just like, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. And same with Sevish. I mean, Sevish is amazing, but I've never really had the drum and bass chops. And drum and bass can lend itself to any sounds, whether it's atonal, microtonal, or just like Foley and street sounds. So like, and samples. Like things can be out of tune and microtonal, but just because it was a found sound or a plunderphonic or whatever, for him to go and actually get that atmosphere on purpose is an absolute other level. Where a lot of people wouldn't realise what he's doing, but he's like, I'm actually sitting here and deciding what notes sound like what, rather than just being look at the drawer and going, that sounds cool because it's an accident.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I love it when he's showing his workflow, because he doesn't engage with a lot of music theory as far as I'm aware. He's doing kind of the same things in a DAW where like he's remembering what his tonic note is and like moving up and down by certain notes, but it must be so much more difficult to keep track of it all without having that, you know, music theory knowledge to help.
I wouldn't know. I've got a good music theory knowledge up to a point. I can't read music, but I've got very good ears, and I can, yeah, I know I can communicate with other musicians, no problem. So my music theory is okay.
Yeah.
But what I've come to I'm not if it's realised, because I'm not sure it's true, but if you constrain yourself to 12 notes, you've got one system to learn. You've got to learn all the interactions between the dominant, subdominant, and all the others. You've got to learn all your modes and your scales and your minor scales, Hungarian minors, but that's still within 12. As soon as you take it out of 12, it's infinite. It's suddenly, if there's no limits imposed on the number of notes, there's going to be a whole new set of relationships with 11, 13, 14, any number you pick will have a whole new set of relationships and chords that don't have names, and so I don't see how music theory can help in that sense, unless you're trying to bring it back into like the closest thing. How do you get a general theory of microtonal music? I'd love to find out. Apart from just use your ears, and if it sounds good, it's probably good.
In a situation where you're using music theory in 12 tone equal temperament, of course, you have names for chords and sort of names for rules and patterns that the music will generally follow. And with microtonal music theory, what you can do is you can create a consistent system of naming similarly, but I don't think the naming ends up actually being a shortcut, because like in 12 tone equal temperament, since we've got this common usage, everyone's using it in the same way, and you say, oh, this is a major 7th chord, you know, people know what that is, if they're musicians. And then in microtonality, it's like, if you pick a particular system, there might be like 4 different systems that mean different things that individuals have used instead of a large group of people. So there's no shortcut to speak of, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. So from a composition point of view, if you're trying to use music theory, it's not going to get you very far. I think microtonal, you've kind of got to do it by ear. Well, at least I have to do it by ear.
Yeah.
I mean, I've looked at all these charts with ratios and stuff, and I understand what it's all about, but it's the same as looking at sheet music. I'm like, it would take me all day to figure out what's going on, when I could just load up a scale file and play around with it.
Yeah.
But then I'm not on the academic side of it. There's a whole bunch of people who are doing all this work and trying to. They're drawing all these charts and they're beautiful and they make no sense to me, but they're like, I know they mean something. And from a mathematical point of view, there are people who are slightly interested in the music side, but more interested in the harmonics and how they work, and that's just a whole other. That's just a different way of coming at it. I don't think there's anything better or worse, but I don't know. I like pop. I like pop music. I'm really sorry. I really do.
Oh no!
I like memorable melodies and tunes you can hum and things that you wake up with the tune stuck in your head. And I'm not a big fan of Hans Zimmer. And
me neither.
No, he's really very good. He's really very good at what he does. And obviously directors have realised that. I watched that thing about the Avatar music posted the other day. I watched the 22 minutes of that, and I was like, oh gosh, that's very polarizing thing. Well, a lot of people thought that the music of Avatar was fantastic, and then a lot of people thought, well, now I know the truth, I don't really think it's fantastic anymore.
I mean, there's all sorts of situations in film music and other media where, like, you have things like aliens or non-European groups of humans playing music, and then it just sounds like fucking Western classical music. You're like, come on. Try.
I mean, like, even in Star Wars, when they're in I forget the name of the tune. When they were dancing in that, when they're all playing in that nightclub.
The Cantina tune. Yeah, you've seen the Microtonal one, right?
No.
It's so good. Not only is it hilarious, but Togahan Cholu like reposted it on his channel, and the person who did it, they have a visual when it's retuned. So it's in like a bunch of different EDOs, but never simultaneous ones vertically. It's just like, you know, he renders it in like 13 EDO and then like switches to 14 and then to 11. And there's even like a funny gag during one point where like the tuning changes like 7 times in like 4 bars and a bunch of quirky diagrams pop up. It was so great to see someone using like a bunch of different tuning systems at once for the purposes of humor, because that's something I'm interested in.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. That sounds funny. But yeah, it's
absolutely fantastic.
The most alien soundtrack I can think of was the original Planet of the Apes, Jerry Goldsmith, and it was like it really just made you that's one of the things that made you think they're not on Earth. This can't be Earth, because listen to that music. and then so many people didn't think, oh, why are the apes speaking American?
Yeah.
Like, oh, surely that gave the game away. But no, like, because the music was so weird, and it was almost like Varese, Edgar Varese, and Penderecki. It was just like, it was taking some of the best atonal music from the 50s and 60s and just making it into this fantastic soundtrack. And then you go back to Star Wars or Alien, it's like, oh, well, we definitely not Alien. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I wouldn't have had these thoughts until 6 months ago. So this is. I'm like a kid with a new toy. It's so cool.
Yeah, and I think another thing that's really exciting about you coming into this community is that you know a lot about production and how to make your music sound good. So since there's quite a few microtonal people who don't know that yet, or are sort of fighting to try and figure that out, we're very, very happy to have someone making things that sound like full and rich, that have a good tune in them and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, I've spent last 15 years invested in my home studio and getting good. I'm every day I'm watching YouTube tutorials and trying out new plugins and techniques. So like I'm constantly trying to learn. I discovered there's a dude call himself Microwave 64 who actually done an album of microtonal chiptune synthwave music, and it's phenomenal. I listened to the whole thing yesterday. He's called Microwave 64. I forget his name. I'm Microwave 64, and he released an album in January, so it's not like he's ripped me off. Like, I just never heard of him till yesterday. And I messaged him. I was like, oh my god, we had the same idea.
Yes, that's so cool.
But it's a really, really good album. Cool. And it was another time when I put it on last night with headphones, and I got that drunk feeling again. I was like, oh, I'm like on a roller coaster, like the stomach's in my mouth feeling. And he does a lot of binaural stuff. It sounds like he's got like some 3D plugins that are making all the sounds swirl around your head, not just left and right, but like up and down and like all this other crazy stuff. So I'd give him a listen. Microwave 64.
Do you wish that somebody had taught you what microtons were in school? Or are you glad that you learned about it now?
Well, like I said earlier, I think that I would have had a different... If I'd have got into it 20 years ago, I would have been a different person now. But because I focused more on music production, I didn't practice my scales. I didn't get any better at performing. I can clunk my way through guitars, and I can clunk my way through a piano. But I didn't go academic with it, which I think you have to be someone like Amelia Huff, who's just a phenomenal musician, or Jacob Collier he's just studied everything under the sun. I went more into just writing for whatever, video games or short films, student films, and lately TV. But nothing big. It's just it's really like tiny little reality TV things that you'll see, like in the middle of the night. I'm glad that I learnt to get my production chops up and get good at the DAW and know my EQ and invest in my home studio and get some acoustic treatment and get some good monitors and a decent microphone, and rather than reading because that's actually got me some work. And I've got a few friends who I studied with, who are serious composers. They're excellent composers, but no, that they're just looking for the next competition or a lot of it's competitions where you have to like pay entry to get your composition performed by an orchestra, and then you can win like $3,000 or whatever. But it's a lot of hard work. So to write for some music libraries and hope that it gets picked up on by some TV channel 3 years later is a lot easier. You've really got to put it in. And I was churning out like 3 or 4 tracks a week for my publisher and hoping they would pick one of them. It's still a numbers game. They don't not everything I send to them doesn't get used. So I got about 30% performance rate. Every 3 tracks I send them, they're only going to use one. Sorry, I was going to say unless you're a pop star. And
right.
And that's also a lot of hard work. I can't say being a pop star is easy. It kills a lot of them. It's like that's a really tough job as well.
I mean, people always complain that pop stars aren't musically talented, but it's like that's not the whole issue. It's like the whole show that they have to put on and the whole song and dance they have to do is incredibly exhausting and requires so much help from so many people.
Oh my god, yeah.
So, I mean, that's how I see it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's a different. The Billboard 100 and independent music are so far away from each other.
I've almost thought about like giving up composition entirely because there's so much microtonal music being made that's so cool that I want to play using like the right tuning system and everything with just the tools that I have. And I feel like nobody is doing that exactly like I am unless they're reading written music, like using what they hear. Like I try to do that with Rise and some other stuff.
Oh yeah, what you're featured on now? You got you playing guitar on it?
Yeah, exactly. I'm playing guitar on Rise.
Well, if I played it to my mum, she'd be like, "Oh, it's very nice, son, but it sounds a bit out of tune."
Oh yeah. Oh, my mom would do the exact same damn thing. That's fun. Do you find if you're working with microtonal synthesizers that you wish you could access the capabilities of a lot of other ones that don't allow microtonality? Like, is that something that you have to deal with that you think is annoying?
Yeah, I really want to be able to have a global tuning system in Cubase. That would be just freaking awesome.
Oh yes.
Like to be able to say that, well, the whole project is in this, and it will make my grid, instead of 12 notes, it will make it 19 or whatever, and it will just automatically tune all the instruments. Because I've got the Composer Cloud thing, which I use for work, and it's got like these like fantastic string libraries and piano, like really, really, really nice pianos, grand pianos. And the only thing I can do is multiples of 12, really. If I could do 12, 24, 36, and I can't retune them any more than that without a hell of a lot of ball ache. I could do it all. I could do it by hand if I wanted to, but at the moment it's just I could buy some new instruments. But that's about all I can do.
And you could do like multiples of, like when people use multiples of 12 for quarter tones, I always think like multiples of 6 are nearly as good, where you're just playing a whole tone scale. So I think there's a lot of potential for people to maybe explore 18 tone equal temperament like they do quarter tones. It's almost as easy, but people think of it a lot less. So I'd love to do that with like guitars, you know, where you're just playing 3 different whole tone scales. What do you think about tunings like that don't make major and minor chords?
So would that be 9? Would that be 9? No, it'd be 6.
Yeah, 9 times 2.
Yeah.
And 6 times 3 as well.
Yeah.
The idea being like,
there's 18.
If you have a whole tone scale on a piano, and you could have 3 tracks and then your second one would just be tuned up 66 cents, and you'd have a whole 10 scale, and then the next one would be tuned up 66 more, or 66.6 repeating.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean. And then you would have all three of those.
The scale of the beast.
It's a very beastly scale. But then if you get just the right sound and harmonize things that don't have anything like major or minor chord constructs, that is just so alien. I love it. I love that kind of thing.
Oh, that's crazy. I'm gonna have to play with that, because that would give you 6 tritones, right?
So you'd have 9 different tritones, an 18-tone equal temperament, just like you have 6 different tritones and 12-tone equal temperament.
Yeah. That's nuts. I'm going to play with that later.
Yeah, you definitely should.
That's possible with any instrument library then. Tune it up 66 and another 66.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. You could do that with your synthesizers. It would be about as easy as quarter tones.
Yeah.
Maybe just a little bit harder. Because, the less a tuning has in common numerically with 12, the more,
things, wouldn't you? You'd need 3, you'd need 3 copies of the instrument.
Yes.
So that's all you need. Like, and then some time. I desperately want a 19-tone guitar now to see in yours. So I'm like, that looks like fun.
Oh, it's so fun.
It would save me a whole bunch of time.
Yeah. That'd be pretty cool.
Well, even a 24-tone guitar, because like having to record the guitars for my tracks, there's like 6 guitar parts, and each one has to be retuned because I've only got 12-note guitars, so I'd have to do one part in 12 and record it at regular tuning 440, and then I'd have to tune my guitar to 453 for the other parts. And it's not like I've got one section in 12 note in 440 and then another section in 453. It was like sometimes it's like each chord is different in a different domain, so
right,
I'm having to like go backwards and forwards, like retuning my guitar every time I've got like a new chord. And I'd have to do it in I'd have to record it a bar at a time, literally record it a bar at a time and loop it until I get the rhythm right. And it's like,
yeah,
I should just buy a 24-tone guitar and learn it. It's just...
Yeah, I wonder if that would be easier, because the frets are so small.
I'd still probably do it a bar at a time, but I just wouldn't have to do all that retuning. And with retuning, you get your guitars in a different place, your pickups might be slightly different, like you're never exactly what you were the first time round, so the guitar tone can sort of shift from the start of the song to the end of the song. Like something like that Headcase. I've got acoustic guitars. I've got like 3 electric guitar parts, and they've all got 2 tracks, one on 440 and a parallel one at 453. So it's just like doubles the amount of tracks I need or want to look at. I just want it all on one track and be done with it. Yeah,
I understand the struggle. That's definitely a thing with microtonality, is more tracks that you wish you didn't have to have sometimes.
Yeah, it's a problem with DAWs. And I'm not sure if any DAWs have got microtonal stuff built in. I think someone said that like... Logic, yeah. Someone said Logic has got like a global tuning system, but I haven't got a Mac, so it's not going to happen. I've put like 20 years of my life into learning Cubase, so I'm not just going to jump ship now. Like, it would take me another 20 years to even get anywhere near for one function anyway. Like,
right? Yeah. Well, global microtonality and DAWs would be really, really fantastic. How many notes do you think you could reasonably tolerate in a tuning at one time? Because I know that, like, in a scale, the number of notes that you have to draw from is really, really important. So then some people like to use scales with a bunch of notes in them, and some people like maybe even fewer notes than 12-tone equal temperament has. What do you generally think that your preferred amount of notes to work with is?
I don't know. I mean, I'm still so new to it. I'm experimenting. I'm going through the list of scale files. Like, the first one was obviously equal temperament, and then I tried 19, I've tried 22, I've definitely tried 24, but like I've got a whole folder full of other ones. So I don't know. I haven't got a preferred one. There's so much to do, like and Bohlen-Pierce and things like Bohlen-Pierce that splits things into not necessarily an octave. I really like the idea of not having an octave. They kind of drift as you go higher. I really like that idea, but like it's finding the nice things in it, because it's very easy to make something sound terrible in any tuning, whether even it's 12. You just hit the keys and that it sounds terrible. It takes a lot of I think Elaine Walker said she does it one note at a time and very carefully, and that's how I like to do it. Very just, does this work? No. Does this work? Maybe. Does this work? That sounds nice. Move on. And then you get fast at it, but it's still careful. I'm absolutely no good at doing microtonal music on a keyboard. Like I try and play it, and I'm like, I can find a nice looking chord, but I can't play anything. I can't remember where anything is, because especially I've got a 12-tone keyboard. So it's like starting again every time I load a new scale up. It's like, I've got to relearn this instrument. So I just go back to the grid and I'll just program it in. So at least I can hear what I'm imagining much faster.
The most deadly thing that can happen to me is if I don't finish a microtonal song for a while and I was using keyboard positions to know it, because then I put stickers on my keyboard, but then since it's not finished, I just never take them off. So then there are these annoying stickers on my keyboard, and I'm like, oh god, I've got to finish like Fort Cindy Poo or whatever my next thing is around the corner. So, yeah.
You got like an extra half an inch of sticker.
Oh yeah, and in fact, actually, hold on, I have something funny to show you. These are stickies for my hammer dulcimer, because I have a piece that I haven't finished that's in 20 equal divisions of 5/1.
But they're just that you've got a dulcimer's cool anyway. I heard one of your videos where you did a round.
But yeah.
With but you looked like it was at some camp. It looked really cool.
Oh yeah. Was it one of the Un12 videos, like the backflip video?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was great.
That looks fun. But like, because I don't know any other microtonal musicians. They're like so scattered about the world. I think you have to do a meetup to even get a jam in.
Yeah, exactly. It's so virtual nowadays.
Well, one day maybe we ever get let out of here. Right, you take care of yourself.
Yeah, you too. Thanks so much.
No worries. Thank you very much for having me. It's been great.
Yeah, looking forward to a bunch more stuff from you.
I used to just like finish something and go, okay, you got it. Because my publisher would be like, just have it. Yeah, as long as it wasn't badly mixed.
Right.
I'd spend a day on a track and then send it off, and they'd be happy, because it's only going to be just a little bit of like background music. But since I've been doing stuff for myself, which is like the first time in years that I've done anything for me, that I'm just like, oh my god, I keep thinking about it, I keep analysing it. I'm like 10 mixes of this thing now. I'm like, and then I'm sending it to my buddies and going, oh, what do you think? Like critical mix or mix critique. Please tell me if you hear anything funny. And I got some notes back earlier saying, oh, this and this and this. And I went back and I'm like, yeah, you're right. It's just like,
yeah.
I'm really excited about making this stuff, and I want to make it as good as I can. No half measures. It's like being back at school again. It's great. Without school, without actual school, which is the worst part of school.
Yeah. Fantastic.
All right, mate. Have a good dinner.
You too.
Adios.
I'll see you later.
See you in a bit. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
listening to this latest episode of Now and Zen. We hope this will give you something fun and exciting to listen to during quarantine. Our April episodes are Craig Grady, James Mulvale, and Isaac Shankler. Our bonus episode this month features Elaine Walker, Brendan Burns, and Sevish in a chat together. By the way, our efforts to number the episodes according to equal temperaments, just intonation, tuning systems, or other related numbers appears to be more effort than it's worth. Thus, I've gone back through and renamed nearly all the episodes according to a standard episode number. This really makes things easier, and it doesn't feel like we're endlessly trying to come up with marginally related numbers that fit for episode titles. You, the patrons, voted on it, and that was a huge help. Here's a Patreon update. For those of you who are unaware, I, Stephen Weigel, have arranged Easily Blackwood's 15-tone equal-tempered etude for keyboard and played this on my YouTube channel. I plan to do this with all of the etudes, even the later ones which have so many notes. So the new rule is, for every 10 patrons I get, I will arrange a new etude. The next one on the chopping block is 13-tone equal temperament, and the next number to hit is the 30 patron mark. I know you want to hear this happen, so be a part of the rich history and cultural tradition of Blackwood's etudes by making a small monthly donation of only $5 or more if you feel so inclined. Donations are appreciated more than ever during this time period. I also greatly desire your feedback on this show and what kinds of content you want to see. If you're a patron, I listen to you more than other people. As always, this show wouldn't be possible without the generosity of our 23 patrons, our Zen Harmonic patrons, as well as our Zen Harmonic gods, Kit Dugay, Hector McGuffin, Joshua Sanchez, Christopher Bailey, Leland O. Weigel, Amy Coleman, Joe Weigel, Tina Harmon Carteau, and the Brass Whisperer. Catch you next time on Now and Zen. You can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and Libsyn, and you can follow our social media on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Thanks!